Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our AoE2 Noob Cup free-for-all. This is a special match that we have here where 4 of our previous contestants are duking it out in a diplomacy game to try to see which one is the last man standing. I am joined once again with Hiram of Tyre. Hiram, how are you doing today?
It's always a good day when you get to watch and spectate, and especially to cast some AoE. So I'm doing phenomenal.
As am I. I'm really excited for this. This is actually the first game I have ever cast with more than 2 players. I normally cast 1v1s. And we're actually seeing right out of the gate some diplomacy going on. We saw Supermud reaching out to somebody saying, ally with me, brother. Lyle here asking for an ally as well. But I'm not able to see who they're talking to. I don't know how the negotiations are panning out. So we'll have to see. They've been told that it is a diplomacy game. They are able to make, teams and ally with one another, but ultimately, and they can break those alliances as they wish. But ultimately, there can only be one victor. It looks like Lyle and IKnights right out of the gate are allying. So
this is a good position for them because they both, I don't know if they know this yet or not, but they occupy the bottom section of the map, so they're not going to be split in between the two.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the civs here, I guess, before things get too hectic and crazy. Well, first off, we're playing on Highland, so it looks like the map is cut up into 4 equal quadrants, each player claiming a quadrant. Looks like, you've got rivers with a couple of land bridges. So some very defendable choke points, I'd imagine, if they focus on the land. I imagine most of these players, as noob players, don't have a lot of Navy experience. And so I predict we're going to see a lot of fighting and a lot of control over these bridges, right?
I agree. Although I will say there's been so much emphasis on the fishing eco and the advantage that brings. If we have 1 or 2 players decide to go down the fishing road, we could see naval fighting just by accident, less by strategy and more by default.
Right. Yes. So, again, let's talk about the civs. First, I think this is no surprise if you've been paying any attention at all to the Noob Cup thus far. We have Statistic in the teal playing as the Cumans. This has been Statistic's go-to throughout this entire tournament. I think he's definitely played his best as the Cumans. He's very good at taking advantage of that feudal age town center. And I think this is really strong. Really strong choice for him. If anything, if I were him, the only wrinkle in this plan is that it is a diplomacy game. Right. And seeing Statistic on his most powerful civilization may scare some of the other players into realizing he's a threat.
True, but then consider the Vikings. Of course, it's no surprise to anybody, Lyle picking the Vikings. They've been featured very heavily in this tournament by multiple players. By 3 of the players here during the tournament have played Vikings. So it's not as if that doesn't come without its own share of intimidation, because these players have heard over and over again just how powerful that wheelbarrow and handcart is upon teching up.
Right. And I predict, by the way, speaking about the players, I think Lyle may be the surprise here. Because Lyle was taken out in game 1, right? Or in set 1 against one of our finalists, Maniacal Rodent. But Lyle took Maniacal Rodent to game 3 in a very, very close match.
Right.
I would suspect, like with Statistic, I think because he went to the semifinals, there might be kind of a thought from the other 3 that he's more of a threat, and I think it's going to be true for all of the players, that they have an opportunity to really surprise their opponents with how good they are, what they've learned since the quarterfinal matches. But I'm thinking Lyle in particular, I've got an eye on, just to see what he brings to the table.
And here's another surprise. I'm just looking at this right out the gate. We have IKnights, who was also eliminated in his first round, uh, but he has
Right.
the lowest idle TC time of anyone so far. 2 minutes 11 seconds to the top contender. 5 minutes and 45 seconds, a more than double.
Right.
So,
And
I think. Go ahead.
No, I'm interrupting you, but I was just agreeing with you and saying it's the same kind of thing. IKnights also was eliminated in the quarterfinals against our other finalist, Kalimatar. And, IKnights likewise played very well in that set. And so I think he too, especially with what you're bringing up here, it seems like he's maybe put in some practice. And at least early on, is off to a very strong start.
I agree. One other thing I want to point out really quickly is I agree with you that Statistic could easily be targeted.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, number one, he has the Vil lead, and number two, in a diplomacy game, one of the worst things you could possibly do is vector immediately into aggression against one player, because no matter how successful you are, you will leave yourself open to the other two. Right. So the other players are going to be significantly cautious, or they should be, of just engaging into an early aggression against the humans. But early aggression is precisely what they're vulnerable to. So he's leveraging his civic, or he has the ability to leverage his civ bonuses and the diplomacy bonus into giving him a very powerful boom.
Yeah, I agree. Statistics.
Not only
is
that,
in a
he
good
is
position.
the only one on fishing eco that I can see.
Yeah. We have, jumping back to the civs, I've got Supermud in the purple playing as the Japanese. Japanese, I think it's a fun choice, particularly on Highlands, if you take advantage of the fishing eco. They have the, I believe it's the faster working fishing ships as the Japanese. So they have a good fishing economy. If he's going to go for a drush, again, Japanese drush is a little better than the typical drush. So that's a positive for him. And I think in the late game, the Japanese have a flexibility that may work to Supermud's favor.
Agreed.
So, good luck to him. And then we already mentioned IKnights in the green playing as the Huns. Huns don't have to build houses. That is a positive as far as all the wood you save. That can help you get farms up, get fishing eco up. If you're going to do archers or horse archers, I mean, just the wood savings mean a lot, right? It also can be a negative if you rely on houses to kind of, house wall and defend yourself. That's no longer an option for you as the Huns. But I think this is a strong option. So we got a good Cav Civ in the green. With the orange in the Vikings, a good infantry Civ. Pretty good archers. Kind of an all-arounder, but good infantry for the Vikings. Cumans have kind of good Cav archer. Maybe some late game raiding units. And then the Japanese and the purple are an all-arounder Civ as well. So I would expect kind of an archer focus for a lot of these civs, at least as far as civilization strengths, which is funny because what we've seen over the course of the tournament is most of the time the focus has been on either infantry civs like the Vikings or knight civs. Archer civs have been rarely chosen, so
Right.
I'm curious to see what kind of compositions these players will make.
Me too. I don't know if the players have played on Highlands before. They were informed of the map choice, obviously, beforehand, but that doesn't mean they had a chance to look at it and feel about it. Looking at Statistics placement of a house wall, that indicates to me he doesn't know of the shallows. No player walling the shallows yet, except for the Vikings, who has clearly played on Highlands before.
Yeah, I was just about to make a note of that. Yeah, Lyle is the first one to wall up his side of the land bridge between him and IKnights specifically. And I wonder if that decision, if that reveals anything about Lyle's mindset. Is he worried about IKnights in particular over Supermud because he does see both land bridges? So is he putting
He does,
is he putting priority on IKnights for a reason? Or
he doesn't see that it's IKnights. If you look at what he scouted to the north and knows where Supermud is, but he doesn't know who's on the southern past the southern land bridge. He's only scouted that only a little bit. So I suspect that it's because that's the first one he got to.
Now, one of the things that we've said over the course of this free-for-all tournament, over the course of this Noob Cup tournament, right, is to have eyes on two numbers in particular: the idle TC time and the villager counts, because oftentimes the number of villagers you have will determine who ends up winning the game. It's not guaranteed. There are certainly games where the player with fewer vills wins, but more often than not, more villagers means more economic power, means more military power, means victory, right? But it's a little different in a free-for-all diplomacy game, because I think first off, in a diplomacy game, people are a little hesitant to actually go on offense, to be the first one to pull the trigger, right? And I think that leaves, like right here, so far we have Supermud, who is behind almost, well, a little under double the amount of, or half the amount of Statistic, who has the highest number of villagers currently. But because it's sort of a slower paced game, I predict, because it's a slower paced game, I think that will give him more time to catch up. And I think that also with diplomacy, you are given extra tools to maybe encourage people to focus on each other. And there are ways that you can win this even if you are perhaps behind out of the gate.
Absolutely true. Part of it, one of the big things with a free-for-all game is who sheds blood first and who decides to commit military forces first. So again, you decide to march your army out of your base, you're leaving yourself pretty vulnerable. You know, you can knock one person out, but be attacked by two. So, you know, it's entirely possible. I've seen it before in a free-for-all game. A player is the weakest, and therefore everybody kind of ignores them and bashes their heads against each other for a long time. And suddenly the player that's been left alone comes out swinging. And a late game Japanese army is not to be trifled with. They have good infantry, they have decent archers, and their trebuchets are excellent. So
So, bringing a couple of things to attention here. I believe IKnights is the first one to hit Castle Age, if I'm reading the map correctly. So, on the one hand, that's a great thing for him. It also maybe puts a little bit of a kind of a warning sign for the others that, oh no, IKnights is in Castle Age, that's scary, right? But on the other hand, Statistic, as the Cumans, is booming really, really well with his double town center. He doesn't even have the second town center up yet, and he's already got 43 vills. So he's 5 up over IKnights already. And that will just expand even further, I believe, once he gets the second town center up. So right now, this is exactly the game Statistic wants.
Exactly. And one other thing I want to point out is IKnights is the only other player who has not committed resources into military. He still has his scout. He hasn't lost it, but he's not purchased any military. He's devoted all that straight up into fast castling. And I think that's the right play here, too. You can predict or at least hope that you'll be left alone for a little bit. And so if you're going to buy military, you need to use it. Having it just because it's really handy, well, that's good in its own way. But if you think about it, those are resources spent that are doing you at the current point in time no good.
Right.
So either go into military and use it, or go into eco and wall off, turtle in, and try to hold.
Right.
Speaking of turtling, although we've pointed out the walls for Lyle, he has one shallow still open. I don't know if he's seen it or not, but those walls aren't going to do him any good because he's walled off the one that it looks like he's allied with. And he's got one wall to the north, but he's got an open shallow, and that's actually the shallow closest to Supermud. So
Right. Looks like Supermud wants to go into archers, which makes sense. The Japanese have pretty good archers.
Right. IKnights going into scouts. Now, if IKnights decides to go north and mess with Statistic with scouts, let's see if it's changed. I checked a little bit ago, and Statistic didn't have Loom. He was the only one to not have Loom. He still does not have Loom. If IKnights goes north with those scouts right now and starts raiding the humans, they're going to get a lot of villagers. Or they could get a lot of villagers.
So I'm stepping into the actual game client real quick to take a look at the diplomacy situation right now. And here's what I see. From Statistic's point of view, he is allied with Lyle, but his enemies with Supermud and IKnights. From Supermud's point of view, he's allied with Lyle, he's neutral with IKnights, and he's an enemy with Statistic.
Okay.
From Lyle's point of view, he is allied with everyone. And then from IKnights' point of view, he's allied with Lyle, and he's an enemy with everyone else. So it seems interesting. I guess Supermud is neutral to him, but he's an enemy to IKnights. That's just funny.
Yeah, this is great. So Lyle, right now, I wouldn't say he has no fear of being attacked because you can always be betrayed. We made that perfectly clear before the game that you are not bound by your word. You are more than welcome to say you will be an ally and then immediately start an attack right afterwards.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to really worry that much about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Lyle right now is probably feeling pretty secure. He feels free to build up, take his time, and that's kind of the situation that I'm thinking with Statistic. Is it's great that you have this eco lead, and you're booming so well. If he doesn't, take some initiative, take some initiative with that strong economy. Given enough time, everyone else will catch up, and I think Lyle will definitely catch up. And then it just becomes a slogfest, between the players.
Interesting point of order. In his first set, it was the humans versus the Vikings. Statistic versus Supermud in that set, and Statistic played his horse archer strat very well against the Vikings. So a significant point of order is going to be whether or not Lyle knows how to counter a Cav Archer horde, because right now, just from what I'm seeing, I predict that it's going to come down to Statistics versus Lyle, just from what I'm seeing right now. Obviously, that could change in the space of about 2 minutes.
Whoa! We have IKnights on the attack! Scout army going in against Statistic.
Oh, fantastic. Scouts versus Scouts.
Yeah.
No upgrades for Statistic, and we have armor upgrades for...
Oh, yeah, and
that's... Good for him.
Yeah, and he has the number advantage, too. Although,
yeah,
wait... Okay, alright, good. Alright, men-at-arms are joining the battle. IKnights is pulling back. Great.
To go north and get villagers. Scouts are not a military force as much as they are a raiding force. He needs to raid with them.
Now, here's what's going to be fascinating about this, because right here, it's not just a question of what sort of damage does IKnights do, what sort of damage does Statistic do back, but how does everyone else respond? Does Lyle see an opportunity to attack IKnights? Does Supermud want to join in against Statistic?
One villager kill. First blood for IKnights. It also, looking at the KD, it looks like we lost a villager from Statistic and a villager from Lyle, probably during the boar phase. Look at this.
Here we go.
For Statistic, though.
Scouts are attacking the men-at-arms.
Nice pick.
Yep, and that worked for him.
And that's blacksmith upgrades. Yep. No blacksmith upgrades for either infantry or cav versus slightly upgraded, but upgraded nonetheless, men-at-arms. And look at this. He's got another 18 scouts back in his base. I think that's a little bit of a mistake. You're in Castle Age. Go Knights.
Yeah. If you're in Castle Age and you want to fight like this, go Knights for sure.
Yeah.
And I think, this is a fight that IKnights wins.
I think not only does he win the fight, I think he costs more resources to his enemy than he loses himself. So not only does he take the field, but he takes the eco advantage.
Oh, and more. What is this? More scouts coming in. 23 scouts for IKnights.
This could devastate Statistic. If
Yeah.
those scouts go up to that wood line, heck,
Yeah.
even if they go around to the other town center, you're going to lose some. But that town center cannot, A, hold all those villagers, and B, it's not going to be able to damage 20 scouts at a time.
Now, Statistic has queued up 15 pikemen. So that's Castle Age pikemen. Supermud sending tribute to Lyle. Interesting. So I think these two definitely have a diplomatic relationship going on. But anyway, if those 15 pikemen get out, and if IKnights is not careful about micromanaging his units, they could die very quickly.
Agreed. Oh, again, I mean, he's attacking houses, but you're going to spend about 15, 20 seconds with a horde of 20 cav, 23 cav, cost your enemy 30 wood. That's nothing. That's no advantage at all. Versus swing north and deal with those villagers, you could cost them 700, 800, 900 food in the same amount of time. So this is not a good strategy by IKnights, but he is leading. It is doing something. And as they say in military planning, a good plan now is better than a perfect plan later. No decision. There is not a decision that is worse than no decision.
Well,
make a decision.
Good, kind of right along that theme. Look, he's queuing up even more scouts.
Yeah,
he's got 37 on the field right now, and I mean, I got to give him credit for at least going all in on a unit. You know, it's pretty impressive. I'm surprised he does not have more blacksmith upgrades.
Right.
I think when you have this number on the field, go ahead and pick up that attack upgrade, get that Castle Age armor upgrade.
Now, looking at the military on the field, we've got 41 scouts for IKnights, so that's pretty significant. We have 9 pikemen and a monk for Statistic. I like the monk.
Not against scouts.
Not against scouts, but I do like the monk. And he's got another 24 pikemen in tow, so that's pretty significant as well. Okay, look at this. We've got Lyle the Kindly Viking moving south towards IKnights.
No!
I don't know.
Berserks. I'll help! Lyle says I'll help. Who's he talking to? Who is Lyle talking to?
I think he's moving against IKnights. No, they're directing north. Lyle is moving in to support IKnights against Statistic.
And this is what I was talking about. Statistic made its way to the semifinals. And I don't know whether it's just that or whether it's the fact that they know he's on Cumans. He's at the top of the scoreboard right now, so people are afraid of him.
By a lot, no less.
IKnights says he got Spearman. Yep, pikeman, in fact.
Yep.
But you know who does a good job against pikemen? Berserks.
Not only do they do a good job, they do a phenomenal job. Any damage those pikes do will be negated by their auto regeneration. And look at this. Statistic has 9 villagers moving down to try to build this house wall or maybe to wall off the shallows. I don't know, but they're all going to die. If they get spotted, they're dead.
Yeah. That's 9 vills, yeah.
No, wait. He is moving in. Statistic going on the
offense. Statistic says no ally.
Very well. So be it. Now, I like this. I actually do. If he manages to stay hidden, and I don't know that he will because that's right on the path that, that's a good castle. It's out of range enough to where it's not going to be spotted immediately. It's on the elevation. It's going to be difficult to siege.
This is a really solid castle.
Now, Statistic, he has to realize that the pikemen aren't going to work by now. IKnights says, sorry, Stat.
Statistic calls the GG. Lyle says, forgive me. And Stat resigns. Oh, boy. I think that was a mistake.
I agree. He had a good chance of turning that around. It would have taken some work, but it could have been done.
And even if he's clearly losing, all he has to do is sort of hide, pull back.
Yep.
And
there's a lot of map that isn't
And just wait for the others to start fighting each other.
Right.
When he's no longer the threat, he can maybe get an ally and come back.
Right. Absolutely true. Especially considering how much fishing eco he had. That's impossible to raid. If he's got a couple villagers alive, he can bank some resources and sneak to a corner of the map. Especially, he was about to get a castle up.
Supermud proposes an attack with Lyle against IKnights. IKnights says, "You and I shall be at peace until Supermud is destroyed." So Lyle is allied with both players. Supermud and IKnights both want Lyle to attack the other one with them. So Lyle's in a really good spot. He's kind of a kingmaker here.
He is definitely kingmaker. If he's not the king, right now he's got the dominant military on board. He's got the score lead, not by a lot. Well, it just got taken from him.
Yeah,
but he's up there in score. And again, he has walls on his shallows, not all of them.
You first, I'll come after. He thinks we're allied. Who is Lyle talking to? What is this? Ah!
Well played. Look at this.
Okay. So I think Lyle and Supermud want to work together. I have a small army. Maybe he will see no threat. And I think that if Lyle wants to win this thing, it might make sense to ally with Supermud against IKnights because...
It does.
I think that...
Supermud right now poses him no threat at all.
Yeah. I think Supermud is sort of the weaker of the three right now. And so if Lyle teams up with Supermud and takes out IKnights, then it becomes a one-on-one, and I think Lyle wins that. If Lyle teams up with IKnights against Supermud, you've knocked out that third place, but then it's a toss-up as to who actually wins that 1v1.
Right.
Now, I can't wait to see how this pans out. And again, that's not to say, I mean, free-for-alls are crazy. Supermud could find some way to...
Now look at IKnights. 63 scouts.
Yeah.
This is a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
All right? This is a mistake because, 63 scouts sounds like a lot. 25 pikemen will just shred through that. No business. No problem at all.
Yeah.
He does have the attack and a second blacksmith defensive upgrade on them. So, and he has upgraded to light cav. They're not true scouts. They're gone up from scout cav into light cav. So there is that, but still, that's not going to be able to do much against a gold army.
Not to mention, we have Lyle with the Vikings, so their pikemen are healthier. It's going to take more to kill a Viking pikeman. Right. And the Japanese have faster attacking infantry, so if Supermud goes into pikemen as well, his pikemen will be killing scouts faster than most pikemen would. So it's a really bad situation if you're going to go all in on scouts.
When you're a civilization like the Huns that is so predictably cav, you know your enemy, or you should suspect your enemy is going to go into anti-cav.
Yeah.
In that case, you better make sure your cav are good, because they're going to have to be in order to deal with the counters brought to bear. Right now, it's the worst of both worlds. You are easily countered, but you're not in a position of strength either.
Yeah.
So, no, if I were IKnights here, I would immediately go over and occupy Statistics Island.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. There are a lot of resources here. If this game goes long, there are a lot of resources, statistics left behind that
we've got
that somebody could claim.
IKnights moving onto the island, while Supermud also moves onto Statistics Island. The way he's moving through, he's looping around. I don't know if the two forces are going to come into contact. They might.
We have IKnights scouts moving through Lyle's base into Supermud's. I don't know if that was the plan. If if Lyle,
I don't know either.
Knows about this.
If Supermud gets into IKnights base while all those guys are gone, even the limited army he's got will obliterate what is left.
Supermud Gondor calls for aid. Oh, man. You know what could also happen is, what if IKnights sees the trade carts between Lyle and Supermud, if he suspects something is up, and he decides to go raiding?
Look at this. Supermud has an idle TC of 30 minutes. Lyle has an idle TC of 38 minutes. IKnights has an idle TC of 6.5.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. All right, so purple moving in. IKnights sees him, and he's moving his scouts to engage. Scouts into archers. That's not a great pick. It can work, depending on what they've got, but it's not enough, I don't think.
Ooh, the scouts are going down.
IKnights in Imp. I don't think that'll make a difference here.
Yep, that hurts. And here comes Lyle on the attack with siege engines. Ooh. At this point, if you're IKnights, you've played a very good game of Age of Empires. Like you mentioned, the idle TC time is the best on the field. But you need to be playing some really hard diplomacy right now to pull yourself out of this situation.
So far, it's been a really clean
Scout
game
army
by
coming
Lyle.
back.
Second fight, we've got IKnights versus Lyle on his island. So we've got the northern scout horde engaged. We've got the southern scout horde moving in, trying to push back against the TC. He's got Trebs on it. It won't last long.
That was IKnights' only town center that just went down.
26 pikemen versus 33.
That's called treason.
Treason indeed.
Yeah, the northern force is down. Forgive me, Lyle
Forgive me. What a cruel irony.
Now, at this point, if I were Lyle, what I might consider doing is sending some vills into Supermud's base and building a castle right in the middle of Supermud's stuff while all this chaos is going on.
Absolutely true. So
you used me. Yeah, Lyle, you had no choice, sure. Supermud was just twisting your arm, right? The Viking Vills, I mean the Hun Vills, they've got spunk. They
definitely do.
Oh, and now they're running. Okay, but yeah.
Do you think we will see a continuation of the Legend of Phil?
Well, that was Lyle, right?
It was Lyle.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we get a Phil adventure if Phil wins, you know?
Now, see, here's another thing that played in. You look at IKnights, the placement of IKnights' castle. It's
yes! IKnights is relocating to the corner of the map.
Good for him. Brilliant. This is what Statistic should have done. Because if he can get there, it's going to take so much work to be hunted down that hopefully somebody else will become the target first.
Right. You have to hope, if you're IKnights, you need to either be weak enough or pretend to be weak enough that these two decide it's time to start fighting each other, and then you get to build up while they're attacking one another.
He's rabbiting out also to the south-southeast. This is a good choice. I think these villagers are going to be found. I would be surprised if Supermud and Lyle do not hunt this island into extinction. But what he could do is he could build a second TC, like you suggested, on Supermud's island. There are some resources there. There's some strategic positioning there that could be done. It's not going to be, or it wouldn't be hard at all to wall off a section of that. A section of that island. And don't forget, he's already in Imp.
Yeah, if I were IKnights, I would be messaging Supermud right now and saying, hey man, listen, he used me. You know that you're next. Let's link up and try to knock him down a peg or two.
Yeah.
I'd said earlier if I were Lyle, I'd build a base in Supermud's space while chaos was happening. Same thing's true in reverse. If I were Supermud, try to throw a base down in the middle of all those farms.
Yeah.
Be great.
And I mean, if you're Supermud, that is the right call because we have, looking at the scoreboard, 9-6 Lyle versus 4-7 Supermud, yeah, you're not going to win if it comes to blows. Not right now.
Right. Right.
And especially since some of the economy, maybe not a massive amount of it, but some of it was tied up in that trade unit. So as soon as that goes, you lose your gold gen. And already Lyle is staging about to invade Supermud. So the only thing that can turn this around right now is if IKnights and Supermud ally. That has to happen. I think Supermud realizes what's coming. He throws down a defensive castle. He's pushing out archers. Archers are a good pick against what's being put, but he's got too many skirmishers in there. Skirmishers aren't going to do anything against a berserk.
Yeah. These are the watchtower in the middle there. That's not gonna do much.
I agree. I do want to call attention though. Number one, Bill count, IKnights is not far behind Supermud, so credit to him. Two, the idle TC.
Oh my goodness! IKnights is building a wonder in Statistic's base.
I think this is a mistake. In Last Man Standing, I don't know if Wonder works, number one. Number two, that will tell everybody where his hidden base is.
I agree with that, and I hope that the Wonder does work. But if it does, even if it does, he's got to defend it.
Yeah.
And boy, he's just got to hope that.
Yep.
He's just got to hope that Supermud and Lyle just have a long, dragged out fight.
Now, okay, we've got Lyle. He's got heavy cav on the field. Cavalier with upgrades in tow. 2 armor and 1 attack. Supermud walling or trying to wall. I don't know why he's not walling the shot.
Why does Supermud have siege towers?
I think he suspects or considered he was going to go over a wall of Lyle's, but that would make no sense, or it shouldn't, considering he had trade. You know, if you've got a trade unit, this is what you do. Walk it all around your enemy's base. Because if it's spotted through there, it looks just like a trade unit. You know, it might be caught, but maybe not. It looks like Lyle has a pretty good idea of what's going on inside Supermud's base. Supermud doesn't really know.
I'm just gonna check the diplomacy real quick to see if anything's changed. Let's see. Alright. IKnights is an enemy with everyone. Supermud is allied with Lyle. And is, again, Supermud is neutral with IKnights and allied with Lyle. And Lyle is, again, allied with Supermud and an enemy with IKnights.
Yeah.
So, if you are Supermud in this situation, I mean, what units do you build to deal with what Lyle's bringing to the table?
Archers, pikes, and samurai.
Why samurai? Well, for the berserks,
Number
I guess,
one,
right?
they counter unique units.
Yeah.
So the samurai will deal with berserks really well.
And we do see him actually pumping out samurai.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Number two, they have an already fast attack, so samurai will deal with pretty much everything except the cavalier. And I think they'll fight respectably against cavalier. I think they lose it overall.
Do you want to know what else? I just noticed this too. The samurai, if you click on the samurai, they have castle age blacksmith techs. The berserks only have feudal age techs.
Oh, nice.
That could make a difference.
It could make a huge difference. It's still going to take 2 samurai to take down a single cavalier. Well, like 1 1/3, I think. Don't quote me on that, though. Second castle coming in for Lyle on the choke point that everyone knows is going to be used. Now, I have to say, walling off this back section first and then potentially moving forward to wall the shallows is not necessarily a bad idea.
No, I like it.
As long as he does move forward and wall the shallows. Having said that, Trebuchets are going to make short work of pretty much any wall, so... IKnights buying stone, which is not a surprise. Looks like IKnights has most of his eco onto building this wonder.
I'm noticing, credit to Lyle, by the way, for building town centers on IKnights' old base.
Yep.
So even more economy. I mean, Lyle's taking that economy focus of the Vikings and just going to town with it.
Yep. 2 TCs on IKnights' old base.
Yeah.
IKnights does have a TC in some villagers, but he's got 11 idle villagers. So his TC doesn't show the idle time, but his villagers certainly do.
Right.
5.5 hours of combined idle build time versus 1.25 for Supermud, and about the same for Lyle. So
Lyle says this doesn't have to end like this. I would have gone with you till the end. World peace. Unfortunately, world peace is not a win condition. It's last man standing. I'm sorry, Lyle. It does have to end this way.
CV Pacum Parabellum.
Yes, under my new empire. The Berserks have since picked up their Castle Age tax.
Okay, so the Berserks will... I still think the Samurai take that if they have the numbers, which they do not. 47 Berserks to 14 Samurai. Yes, you're fighting under a castle. Yes, you've got some archer support. You know, I like the Cav Archer. I think if Stat had gone into a little bit of Cav Archer back when he was being two-manned, he might have been able to stall long enough. Because, you know, his castle, if he had gotten it up, along with some Cav Archer to kite anybody trying to attack the castle from the base, could have stayed in the game, I think. I think Cav Archer is a good choice here. Probably not the best choice, but a good choice. Another really good thing.
That's a one.
So it seems that, I mean, if they got a notification about a wonder, then its victory is enabled.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Lyle is moving forward. Okay. Now, I think they're still technically allied with each other. So that's why... No, Supermud, if you do this, you're losing.
You know, I think this qualifies as a throw. One can lose. Oh, and there's a hole in the wall. Losing is losing. But this isn't just a loss. This Supermud has a chance here.
Unless...
he is throwing it.
Unless... I mean, I think they're just having fun. They're fighting as buddies and that kind of thing, and then
I don't mean throw in the stage sense. I mean he has a chance for victory here.
Yeah. And
he has to seize it or he's losing it. I don't mean it's collaboration.
The only way he could, and that's the thing is, IKnights needs to be on the channels here saying, hey, listen, you know, I'm not the threat. You guys have got to fight each other.
Yeah, Palisade Wall is not going to defend that wonder, good sir.
No.
Especially since it's not even closed. But good try anyway. So, yeah, I think that particular wonder play was not necessarily good. If he had, I like the wonder idea. What I would have done in that case is just stayed in the back, built up some eco, built layers upon layers of defense while being ignored, and then plop the wonder down when you've got something to defend it. Don't build the wonder and then build the walls and then build the wonder.
Maybe, but I mean, if the wonder, if IKnights is just goofing around, like if he feels like I've already lost this, you know, I'm just gonna, you know,
true,
you know,
now what
put something
Supermud
down.
Could do here, Supermud could turn on Lyle right now. And he might be able to.
That's what I was about to say. Is if Supermud were to betray Lyle right now, if he were doing something in his base, like
and
this right here.
He's moving down. He sees the army there and says, "Nope, I can't win," and moves back. The wonder goes down. Treb's in place. And now they march back to their respective islands. Now, on the flip side, if Lyle were to betray right now, He's got his berserks right next to the enemy scrims and archers. You know, you have to know sooner or later it is going to turn into an only one can win.
Right.
Now, seeing what you've seen as Supermud, he should be building pikes. A lot of pikes.
Yeah. He needs pikes and archers.
25 Cavaliers. The Cavaliers now have 2 armor and 4 attack.
Ooh. So, IKnights throwing some shade. Which is funny because, of course, IKnights was the one who started the whole attack.
Indeed.
And
I think you're right. I think the statistics going to the semifinals is what informed that decision, and I do agree with IKnights. That was the mistake. Now, IKnights is not dead.
Lyle says, as you know, the king spider atop his web, trying to wrap up a win here.
As such, it's when first we practice, not when we first practice. Don't switch your infinitive, Lyle.
I was actually thinking the same thing, yeah. And there's the attack. Okay, all right. An initial attack.
Poison and treachery.
Yep. Now here's the thing. Even if Supermud wins this, right? Let's just assume the 2 armies wipe each other out. Supermud has 38 vills, Lyle has 66. So, economy-wise, Lyle has this. Supermud needs to have a decisive win.
To put that in perspective, Supermud has fewer villagers than IKnights, who has lost his base twice.
Right.
Effectively. Now, the archers doing work here. They are doing exactly what I hoped they would, but he's sending his cav archers in, and they are in melee range. No micro. It looks like they're just rolling forward to be destroyed. He's setting up the... Okay. IKnights has sent what he should have sent before, and ironically enough, he sends it after the fight has already started. He had set that up a little earlier. He might have had a chance.
Yep.
He might still have a chance. You know, who knows how resilient Supermud will be.
Yeah. You know, Supermud,
Samurai.
It might be a little bit late to be calling for aid.
After having obliterated your army, please send it to help me now.
Yeah.
You gotta read the room, man. What I would love to see right now is to IKnights start a second wonder. Not because it'll do any good, but because it would be the ultimate, you know, meme.
Right. Oh, excuse me. Hey, Toby. Hey.
Trebuchet set up on the castle. The castle is going to go down. It's not going to take another 10, 15 seconds before it's set. There's just no way he can turn out the army necessary to defend it in time.
Supermud says, I have engaged him. If this is what you call engaging, I mean...
Technically, that is true.
Yeah, technically.
But look at this. You know, waiting to turn until you're... I mean, their combined score does not beat Lyle's.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, as you've said, score doesn't mean everything. Yeah. But it does mean something.
Right. Now, could IKnights win this? Yes. If Lyle takes a long time to knock out Supermud, if Lyle could rebuild, if IKnights could rebuild, and then surrender, no, spare your vills. If IKnights is able to rebuild his economy, and then, kind of like you said earlier, get out a lot of archers and a lot of pikemen, he could win.
Now, look here. Supermud is trying to save his villagers. but he's filled his town center halfway with crossbowmen. That's not how you save your villagers, good friend. And he's still churning out.
To be fair, I do that kind of thing all the time myself.
I do too.
Yeah, it happens.
I say this more for the spectators who wonder why the villagers are sitting under the town center. You know, no dismissal here. It's hard to play a 1v1. You've got so much more going on when it's a 1v3 effectively.
Yeah.
Diplomacy games are chaotic. They just are.
And Lyle is building a wonder of his own.
It's not going to go up. Well, it might go up, but it might... I don't think it's going to be what's necessary to win the game.
You know, I wanted to give credit to both Supermud and IKnights earlier. I saw this, but I didn't mention it. Both players took the time to get relics.
Yeah. Supermud says he has broken my defenses.
I'd say...
If by defenses you mean your only town center, most of your builds, your walls, houses, then yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Granted, I will say, we see everything. They only see their corner of the screen. So.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Supermud down to 9 villagers. I think he's out of this game. As he is building another town center. It's actually neat. He's building the town center right beside Stat's old town center. And he can capture the farms. And take advantage of them for himself. Which is kind of neat. But is that really going to work out here?
Speaking of capturing farms, you know a strat I learned recently?
What?
You send a villager into another farm or into your enemy's base. And because it's a peace unit, it's not automatically attacked, right? He's not going to automatically start attacking other villagers, although you could deal with it with a peace unit. What you do, you sneak the villager into their base, if you can, and have them just spend a half-second farming an enemy farm, which as soon as the enemy villager goes to drop off food, the farm becomes unoccupied and your villager can farm it. Then you delete that farm. You can have a villager steal...
Lyle is establishing Dane law in the Highlands. Yeah.
Hey Kaiser.
Yeah.
Is this a village?
I think we can clearly see that this is indeed a village that is being raided and pillaged by Vikings. Yeah. I've created a monster, says IKnights.
Well, you called it. You said that he would be the out from under guy, and not that he was the underdog by any stretch of the imagination, but he clearly had a lot to show that just didn't come out in his quarterfinal, his quarterfinal. So Wonder at 33%. I don't think it's going to be necessary, but hey, it sure is fun.
I like how when you click on the Wonder, it almost sounds like the PlayStation 1 startup noise.
You know, if I had a PlayStation, or if I had ever owned a PlayStation, I might agree with you. But since I haven't, I can't say.
Yeah. Well, it's just takes you back. Anyway.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
I think that... So at this point, IKnights has actually rebuilt his economy rather well. He has the Vill lead right now. 70 Vills to Lyle 66, which is great.
Yep.
The problem is... And he's only just started rebuilding his economy, and what has he gone back to? He's got Tarkans and Scouts. The Scouts, as we've mentioned before, are in many cases not the best military unit in the game. Just as far as a head-to-head fighter.
Yeah.
It's good against skirmishers. It can be good against archers with the right upgrades and the right situations. There's a time and a place for them, but most of the time, you don't want them... Yeah, Supermud, it's been that way for a little while, buddy. But I don't know. Maybe he can rebuild. We'll see. But the scouts.
My forces are moving.
Yeah. The
we
scouts.
have 18 total army against.
Right. 91.
Yeah.
18 to 91. And
no disrespect to the players. Again, they can't see
exactly
what we see. But since we can see it, you and I both know exactly how this is going to go down.
Exactly. Right. And that's true. There's no disrespect to any of these 4 players. I forgot to mention, by the way, too, I should have said this all the way back at the beginning. Where are Tablap and Fate Fiend? Right? Because they were originally going to be a part of this free-for-all as well. And unfortunately, they weren't able to make it this time around. Which is a shame because I think they both... I know Fate Fiend has put in a lot of practice to improve his game, and he would have loved to have been here. So hopefully we'll be seeing more of them in the future. But here we go. We see Lyle just wiping out.
Lyle says, and I quote, 5.
5, yes.
What taunt is that?
You know, I'd have to pull up the menu and check. 5 is gold, please.
The Wonder almost up, 92%. It's not going to be long, and then it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, especially as you mentioned the eco difference earlier, now I don't know what their total stockpiles look like. I don't have access to that screen right now, but there is the opportunity to turn this around. It is not over. It is, you're way far behind, but it could conceivably be done.
The Wonder is up, though, and it does look like he will win the game in 200 years.
Yeah.
So you would have to not just rebuild an army and smash Lyle's army, but then you'd also have to break your way through, destroy that Wonder before it counts down.
Right.
That is a tall, tall ask.
Yeah. Perhaps an impossible ask. You know, without the Wonder, yeah, there's a chance. With the Wonder,
Right.
it does change everything.
Right.
You know, I speculate that the Wonder is less of a Hail Mary strat. It is used that way in a lot of cases. I suspect it's better employed. Okay, we've got a paused game. Okay, maybe not. I suspect it's better employed as a yeah, I'm done hunting you guys down. We already know who's got this. You come to me.
Yeah.
Measure.
Right.
In which case, Lyle is employing it in where it is best employed.
Poor Stat. Even in death, his civilization's getting picked on here by the Huns and the Japanese, who are like vultures, picking away at the Cuman corpse.
You know, I have no response to or about that. Here's another thing I want to point out. We've got the northern portion of Supermud's Island. It's barely been explored, much less being monitored.
Yeah.
We're going to set up second base. That's the place for it. On Statistics Island, the corner where IKnights is set up, again, that is yet to be rediscovered. On IKnights' own island, the corner where he retreated to, still operates. It's there. So,
right.
Moral of the story here, just because you've lost the central part of your island does not mean you've lost your island.
Now, I don't believe Capture Age shows me what the time is like. I'm sorry, what the countdown is for the Wonder. I can switch in game and I see it's down to 146 years.
Yep.
So we're a quarter of the way there to winning the game via Wonder.
Yep.
Okay, IKnights is moving in to attack Lyle at his old base. And this should go very well. Both because I mean, Tarkin's are good raiders. They'll kill the Vills. Ooh. Ooh, Monk. Monk gonna get a conversion, which is cool.
Now Tarkin's 1v1 against heavy cav like Cavaliers, like Paladins, or Cataphract. They're going to lose.
Yeah, given equal upgrades, the Tarkin is actually not a replacement for the Knight, or it can be, but it's a weaker replacement. It's just really good against buildings. It's a good raiding unit.
Yep.
That's why what IKnights needed to focus on. He's got pikemen, which is the right choice.
Which is good. He needed that.
Yeah, he's got pikemen. He needs pikemen and archers.
If Statistic rabbited instead of throwing in the towel, if IKnights had gone Knights instead of Scouts, this game is an entirely different game. Just small changes, pebbles in the river, so to speak, and the whole course is redirected.
Yeah. We do see IKnights is trying to do what he has to do. He's sort of forced into this to try to get to that wonder and bring it down.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I would have loved to have seen? Is...
Scorpions?
Is if he had built a dock, got a transport ship, and then started a bunch of commotion somewhere else on the map, and then sneakily moved the Tarkins.
Agreed. I've been a little surprised at the lack of naval. I didn't think it was going to be the main focus of the game, but the only person who put out any navy at all was Statistic. 18 fishing ships or more. I think it's 18.
That castle will go down. The question is, will the gate go down too? And I don't know. I don't know. I think these Trebs might...
This is a mistake. Now, IKnights is engaging the Trebs. You're not going to win that Treb war, but the thing is, you don't need to. Get the gate down. Get your Cav on the other end of that gate. You win Cav v Treb. You don't have to win the Treb war itself. While we're watching the Treb war, I just want to give a quick shout out to the people who developed the definitive edition. It's still the same game as it ever was. It's still Age of Empires 2. It doesn't feel like they've changed it or ruined it or anything else, but little touches are fantastic. And one of those touches that I absolutely adore is the animation when the Treb round lands, the little dust up and smoke. Better than it's just well done. So I love this game.
Yeah. So here we go. I think this is the last gasp battle here.
I agree. But it's only going to go one way. We've got Pikes against Cav in a bottleneck.
Yep.
Halbs against Cav in a bottleneck.
Yeah, with Cavalier. The perfect flanking maneuver.
No, I take that back. The Halbs are on IKnights' side. It took me a moment to catch up, but still, I think it's going to go only one direction.
Yeah, I think that Lyle has played this perfectly.
I agree.
Just as far as the diplomacy game, everything has kind of come up trumps for him.
Poison and treachery. And I think he's doing the right thing here. He's not sending out his army to go out and harass or try to secure an advantage.
Right.
He doesn't need to.
Yeah.
He's got the Wonder. The Wonder's counting down. All he's got to do is sit back and wait. And spreading your army thin at this point does no good. So, the enemy wants to rebuild. Let them. They won't get to the Wonder.
Right.
I suspect if he had done, and IKnights has a dock right in that southern area. There's no real defense there. I suspect if he had done what you said, build a couple transport ships, ferry a bunch of guys across, he could get some cav into their back line. He could raid all sorts of eco, and maybe get himself back in the game. As it is, the army's largely gone. The Wonder's still counting down. The bottleneck is still well defended. I don't think there's much left in this tank.
Right.
IKnights still building Tarkins. Now, when the enemy has built a wonder, going Tarkins is not necessarily a bad idea.
No, I think
rated unit with an attack bonus against buildings, it's a great idea. But you need to have the right mix of units in other respects as well.
Yeah.
So he's got Halbs, well and good. He's got heavy Cav Archer. I think that's also really good. But you need a front line. You need something to soak up the damage. You need either heavy Cav or infantry you've teched into as the Huns. It's a little difficult, but you need it anyway.
Like a lot more halberdier could work as a front line.
Yeah. An archer ball. An archer ball would do really well, I think. So
as a front line?
20, 30 Cav archers. Well, yeah, Lyle hasn't gone skirm.
Well, okay, no, I agree that Archer would be a great choice. I was just wondering if you meant an Archer as a front line. Like, because you're talking about tanking and absorbing damage. I wouldn't think the Archer would be my...
Now, granted, if it's only about taking and absorbing damage, yes, but the Archer has the ability to... He can't absorb the damage, but he does negate it via mobility. Yeah. Right now with the Tarkin, you can be mobile in where you attack, but, you can't kite.
Right.
You're going to have to choose a ground to fight on.
We're down to 5 years left on the Wonder. So Lyle is about to win this.
Yeah,
via
there's
Wonder.
Not much left.
Here we go.
Empire of Phil.
Phil the Viking will take over. Lyle the Kindly Viking is victorious.
Well played.
What a performance.
Good game.
Now, I'm looking in the corners, like, is there a Phil anywhere? And I don't think there is, because Phil doesn't need to hide in the corner anymore. Phil is the king of his own castle now,
That's correct.
Well,
or, Lyle's villagers said when I just selected them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, is right. Well, that covers it for our AoE2 Noob Cup free-for-all. Congratulations to Lyle the Kindly Viking for putting on quite the show. What a way to demonstrate how to use diplomacy to pick off your opponents one by one and come out on top in a dominating, victorious fashion. Well done to him.
Good game.
I do want to thank quickly our sponsors. That includes IKnights himself. I'm going to link his channels in the video description below. I want to thank Amma as well. And you too, Hiram, for helping to organize this whole thing and chipping in your own part of the pie. This was
not a problem, since it would be a little bit egotistical for you to think yourself. And this isn't obligatory at all, but I do want to say thank you for putting this together. It's great to see a game that I grew up on being played competitively. And, in these circles, in this group, it's just nice to see new life come into this series. So thanks for the idea. Thanks for putting it together and for giving us something to back. So thanks to everybody.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So this was a $25 win here for Lyle the Kindly Viking in the free-for-all. Congratulations to him. And even more importantly, the pride of coming away our free-for-all champion. Good job to you. And good job to each and every one of our players. IKnights, Supermud, Statistic, and Lyle. You guys all did really well, put on a really good showing. Great job. Any last thoughts, Hiram?
Nothing from this end. It was a fun game to watch. It's always, a diplomacy game is so much more complex and so much more chaotic than a regular 1v1. And I always get the chance. I always love the chance to watch it. So thanks to the players, because you put your time on the line so that I could have a blast. I didn't risk a thing. You guys put your honor on the field. So good job, good game, well played.
Yep.
And I look forward to the next time. That's all I've got.
And that's what I've got too. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us for this free-for-all game. Next week, we have the finals, Kalimitar versus Maniacal Rodent. Until then, this is the Iron Kaiser, along with Hiram of Tyre, signing out.